meeting to order. Thank you. So this is the Places 29 Hydraulic Community Advisory Committee meeting, and this is Monday, February 21st, 2022. This meeting is being held pursuant to and in compliance to ensure the continuity of government during the COVID-19 disaster. The committee members present. Do we have our secretary? Each member, each committee member, can you say here when you hear the secretary call your name?
Sure. So you can say here, or if you have your video on, raise your hand, I suppose. Let's see, we have John Lewis.
Here.
James Klemenko.
Here.
Bill Love.
Here.
Julian Bivens.
Here.
Vito.
Here.
Is it Cheta or Seta?
Cheta is good.
Jane Fogelman.
Here.
Who else? I see Chris Rembold.
Here.
Diantha McKeel.
I'm here.
And Yolanda and myself, Rosemary Miller. Is there anybody that I missed who's on the committee?
Is Kim on here?
Somebody, top of somebody's head is there.
That's Joe Higgins. I don't see Kim right now. She may not be on yet.
Okay. Thank you so much. The persons responsible for receiving public comment are the Places 29 Hydraulic Community Advisory Committee and the Albemarle County Community Development Department staff. The opportunities for the public to access and participate in the electronic meeting are posted. So please note that the chat is disabled. If you send something in the chat, this is sent to the meeting administrator. To ask a question or share a comment, use the raise hand feature to indicate that you would like to speak.
And Yolanda,
Mhm.
Yolanda, may I just interrupt? I'm getting a couple of texts from people who are having a hard time getting in. So I don't know if there's some magic that Carolyn Schaefer needs to work, but Cynthia Neff can't get in, and I see John Neal just jumped in, so he's good. Anyway, I just want to
Here at all.
that out. There's Cynthia. She's coming on now. I'm sorry.
Awesome. So if county members present for the meeting, can you identify yourself, please?
Sure, I'll go first. I'm Bill Fritz. I'm with the Community Development Department.
Thank you.
And I'm David Benish with the Community Development Department.
Thank you.
Carolyn Schaefer, the clerk for the Planning Commission boards.
Thank you. Is there anyone else, Miss Carolyn?
We have Supervisor McKeel and Supervisor Galloway are both here. And that
Okay,
is the county.
Cynthia
Thank
Neff, I
you.
just joined.
thank you. I'm unable to see all the faces, all the names at one time. So thank you all. So now we will move right into our committee business meeting. We have to go into adopting the meeting minutes. If you have reviewed the meeting minutes, and if there are any corrections at this time, please speak up and state those corrections.
Am I the only one that didn't get a copy of the minutes? It may just be my failure to find them or see them.
It was a link. It was a link. It wasn't an attachment.
Oh, that was I'm used to the attachment. Okay, I'm
Mhm.
sorry. Me bad.
So at this time, do we have any corrections?
I move we approve the minutes.
I second that.
Thank you. I heard Cheta. Not sure who the other, I heard a familiar voice.
Cynthia, it's Cynthia.
Thank you, Cynthia. So the motion has been moved and properly second. We can facilitate a vote. And you can unmute, all the members can unmute in favor of the minutes and say yes.
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 Thank you. Okay. So that was part of the committee business of adopting the minutes. We will now move to Mr. Bill Fritz, Albemarle County Planning Division, to speak about our Greenbrier vet use. Mr. Fritz.
Thank you. Again, I'm Bill Fritz. I'm with the Community Development Department. I'm the planner reviewing this special use permit application. I'm not going to go through the whole bit about what a special use permit is. I think you all have seen these things before, but it is a special use permit. It's a discretionary action. This is located, I'm going to share my screen. And as soon as you see it, you'll go, oh, I know exactly where you're talking about. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, we
Thank you.
can.
Great. So this property, it's on Greenbrier Drive, and it's next to Flowers Bakery. That's sort of the easiest place to tell you where it is. Three buildings exist on the property now. They were built quite a while ago. There's an approved site plan. Site was developed in accord with that site plan. This is what the property looks like in an aerial photograph. So you can see this is just right in the middle of Greenbrier Drive between Commonwealth and Route 29. It's an area of exclusively commercial development. There's no residential development anywhere near this. The nearest residential development is on the far side of Commonwealth Drive. I think it's about 700 feet away. It's quite a distance. So you have a mix of uses in this area. You've got the hotel, you've got retail, you've got commercial, you've got offices. I mean, you've got just about everything. This shows the zoning, and what you can see here, with the exception of that little bit of yellow you can see in the upper bit and the greenish color, sort of green brown to the far right, it's commercial or mixed development all around this. This property actually has split zoning. It's HC and C1. That's the red and the pinkish color. But that's what is going on. So that's where the property is. What is this application? There have been a number of special use permits issued for this property in the past, going all the way back to the 1990s for a vet. And it has been amended over the years to expand hours and so forth. So there's been a vet here since 1991. The applicant is requesting to change the condition to allow use of any portion of the buildings on this property. We've done the review, and we've not identified any negative factors at this time, but community meeting is part of the review process. So we're here. I know the applicant, or I saw the applicant was here. I can answer any questions, or she can answer any questions anyone might have. I don't know if Joe has any presentation she'd like to make, but that's hopefully summarizes what this is.
Can I speak?
Yeah, it looks like Joe wants to make a comment. Joe Higgins.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you. We cannot see you, but that's fine. We can hear you
Okay.
just fine.
I'm at a bad angle. So yes, the more recent special use permit amendment did allow an increased area, and that would be in the building to the rear of the site. Since that was approved, the veterinarian uses that have been added was a vet for surgery, 3 for internal medicine, 1 for cardiology, and 1 for oncology. And co-locating these services in conjunction with the emergency veterinarian service that's there has been, in my opinion, as a dog lover, pretty great, because the closest specialists in those areas is 50 miles from our location, from the Albemarle location. So by opening the site up to have other spaces co-locate for specialty veterinarian, the ones that they haven't had room for include dermatology, ophthalmology, rehab and recovery, and neurology. And the closest right now, if you need any of those specialty services for your beloved pet, you have to go to either Mannequin Sabat or downtown Richmond. So there is a vet involved in the partnership of this location, and the emergency vet clinic does serve even a greater area than the Albemarle Charlottesville area. So this was really just to allow some of the spaces. It probably won't be all, but the way it works is the spaces all have a variety of configurations, and they just want the flexibility to attract and co-locate more specialty veterinarian services. And we feel like it's a positive thing for the community. Again, Bill went over all the physical ramifications. This is all inside. There's no outside issues with pets. They've existed since 1991. To my knowledge, there's never been a complaint or any issues on this site related to pet care. And that's really the sum total of what it's about. And we hope that you'll consider it favorably. It is a service that does require a special use permit, and in certain neighborhoods there are issues, and this location just is very suitable. And we hope you'll give us some positive feedback. And that's pretty much it.
Can I just ask, is this the place where the veterinary specialist already is?
The ones that I read off at first, they do exist, and they came after the most recent, I think it was what was it, 2000? I don't have it in front of me, but that we amended the original permit, and it went from one piece of the back building to that expanded into the whole building. And so the ER, surgery, internal medicine, cardiology, and oncology are actually operating there now. But the ones they would like,
They're great. I know that they have gotten a lot of really positive feedback, especially about the cardiologist. She's made a big difference, and I think treated half the dogs I know.
be surprised how many dogs are diabetic and they see the internal medicine veterinarians. And also, I mean, cancer treatment too. I think that the oncology has been very successful. Some other clients of mine had to travel to Northern Virginia to get oncology treatment for their German Shepherd. So having it local saves the community a lot of driving.
Joe, exactly what are you all asking for?
It's to allow, there's the 3 buildings, which when you drive there, they appear as 2 buildings. There's an L shape and then a single building. And Bill had the plan up there. All this will do will be to allow any of the buildings on the site to have tenants that are veterinarians. Now, currently, there's a variety of uses there. Cardinal Building Materials is there. They have some warehouse space. There is a restaurant, retail food sales, specialty Latino foods. There is a variety of tenants, but they can't expand into those spaces at all without having the special use permit amended. So it doesn't limit them to the single building. So, and it doesn't mean the entire building necessarily would become veterinarians. It just depends on their space needs, and this will be very gradual. It took about 5 years before these other specialties co-located here. And we could expect this would take years as leases come up and people change over.
Sounds fair enough to me.
Yeah, doesn't seem to be a problem.
Are there specific hours, Ms. Higgins, or?
No, actually, the previous special use permit had, let me go back. The first special use permit at this site had the emergency clinic with nighttime hours, 5 p.m. to 5 a.m., I believe. We deleted those on the more recent special use permit amendment, although it has just continued to operate as a nighttime clinic. That has a little bit to do with the vets themselves, how they operate and how they do their support system. Because very frankly, it's a rotational, the doctors rotate to man the nighttime clinic. And that's where they get pets that have been hit by cars and, you know, it's the actual emergencies. But then what happens is they close in the morning in most times, and those pets, if they can't transfer them to a location for their recovery and rehab, then they have to man the clinic during the day. So by having vets right in the same building or right on the same site, they can take a pet with, you know, broken bones and they can take it to one of the internal medicine doctors. Or if it's well, they don't have a neurologist. So I'm not sure how they transfer the animals, but they have a really cooperation between the offices there, because it's really just specialized office space is all that it really is. But the intent here is that one of the offices would operate 24 hours, at least to receive accident victims. Because these days, you know, there's a lot of animals that get hit by cars, frankly.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
This is Diantha. Joe, or maybe Bill Fritz, is there any presentation? Maybe I missed you all saying that there's not, but is there a presentation for the committee to see about this proposal?
The only thing really to show was I showed the PowerPoint presentation, and that just showed the property. I can go back and show you that again real quick if you didn't see it or if it didn't come across.
How did I miss that? I'm sorry.
And basically all it's showing, and Joe hit on it perfectly, is this
I saw that. That's all. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Bill. I did see that. Yes, I was thinking.
It's
okay.
3 existing buildings, and right now the condition, it's limited to this parcel, this building back here, this 370. And they just want to be able to use any portion of the building as the needs warrant as it expands. So there's no change to the exterior of the property. There's no modifications that are necessary. It'll be entirely internal. So it's really just a use of the existing structure issue.
There is
Okay.
one other document. It's the one that was the attachment. We called it the concept plan for the special use permit. And all it is the survey, an as-built.
Right.
That shows labels on the buildings of, you know, when we had limited it to one building, there was a note on it saying limited to that building. And then of course, now that note has been revised to say both buildings. And that's the attachment to our application.
Right, and that plan, as well as the narrative that Joe described it, but there's a written narrative that goes along in the application. That's all in the link that's in your agenda. So if you want to go look at that really detailed information, that's in there also.
Thanks. I did see those. I was just, I guess in my head, I was expecting a few more or something else. I don't know.
There's really not a lot to show on this
Yeah.
one. It's kind of hard to, I was like,
I'm
what am I
used
gonna
to
pull together?
reams I'm just
Yeah.
used to reams, right? And it's
It's just,
okay.
there's just not
There's-
much for this one, which is part of the issue that we have as staff is we just haven't identified any issues. So so anyway, I'm happy to answer any questions.
No site changes. The only thing that eventually will change is they'll get permits for interior modifications and signage. But basically the buildings, there's no proposal to change any buildings on the site.
Got it.
I don't
Thank
see how
you.
anybody could object to this.
It looks like Ned Galloway had something to say, and maybe Julian, I saw your hand up. Ned, take it away.
I wanted to confirm because it sounded like I thought I had it and then it may have switched. You're saying just that one of the 3 buildings, or this could expand to all 3 buildings?
Right now, it is permitted in one of the 3 buildings, and this special use permit application is to allow all of the buildings on the property to be used.
Yeah.
Right now, the condition is it's limited to this building here. I think you can see my cursor,
Yep.
which is 370A plus. It's all the addresses there. There's 370. The application would be to allow use of any portion of these three buildings here, 386, 380, and 370. It gives them flexibility to decide where to go within these buildings.
Understood. Thank you.
Looks good to me.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your acceptance and approval.
Chris,
And we'll,
I have one,
I
have
think there are
one
more
question.
questions.
the only question I have is there adequate parking on this space for all three buildings being full-time veterinary practice?
can I respond
Yes.
to that?
You can, Joe, but I can also, let me just go real quick to let everybody know. The answer to that question is yes, we believe there is. Yes, there will be. And as part of any clearance they have to get, that's one of the analysis that would be done. So let's say there was a heavy user in there that had parking, it could adjust up and down, but this site has plenty of parking, so.
Good, thank you.
How much space is available in those other two buildings right now? I actually drove around there this afternoon for the first time. I see Benjamin Moore Paints and a few other buildings. What's available right now? Just curious.
Right now, the existing building they're in is 13,782 square feet. And the other two buildings, which are really one building, they're just addressed separately, is 25,943.
Those are gross square footages
Gross.
for the outside
Yeah.
established in a survey. The interior uses, those also include outside porches and walkways.
Right.
But as Bill explained, this doesn't mean the whole building will be vet, but each time a tenant changes over, they're required to get a zoning clearance and go through the verification with the county staff of what can be supported on the site. So this doesn't waive any requirements or give any special permission. It just allows them to consider a variety of tenants and more veterinarian tenants. That's all.
Okay. We have any more questions?
I do see
It
that
sounds-
Chris Rimbold has his hand up. I don't know if he has a question.
That was the same question.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Well, thank you all very much. I'm in Florida and it's 82 degrees. So I have to go get in some air conditioning now.
Thank you.
Not missing the weather. I'll be back tomorrow, but thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Higgins. It sounds like great idea. And Ms. Neff has already used it. Cynthia's already been using it, so.
I unfortunately have had to use it myself too. Yeah, I think I see other people with their thumbs up. Yeah, it's good to
Yeah.
have, but not good that you need it, but it's nice to
Good to
have.
have.
You.
Mhm.
over the years, I've had two dogs with snake bites late at night that we had to take over there, and they treated them beautifully. I mean, it was just,
Yeah.
for a snake bite, I should say it was a pleasant experience. I hate to say that, but the dogs did very well, and we're really lucky to have an emergency vet like this in the community.
Yeah, no, I got to visit one time, it was either Christmas Day or the day after, when one of the dogs got and ate 3 pounds of dark chocolate that had remained unopened under the tree, and got to have his stomach pumped and everything. Was great. And it was $660. He still owes me that, but.
A snake bite will beat that, I can tell you.
Well, again, thank you.
Thank you.
We're a little ahead of schedule, so I think that's great. Yeah, so we are now on to a Stonefield update. Alan Wong, Mitchell Matthews Architects and Planners. Alan Wong.
Hi, good evening. Should I just start right in, or was there someone else we
Absolutely,
need?
go right
Okay,
on.
Great. Well, good evening. My name is Alan Wong. I'm a member of the local team of architects at Mitchell Matthews Architects and Planners. We're leading the design effort on the apartments at Stonefield, Block D1, a multifamily project. And I'm here in response to a community request for a brief update on the project, and just thought to facilitate that, would show a few slides that might help everyone. So if I could share my screen, see if I can do that. Share.
Yep.
Can everyone see?
We can see it.
Great, okay. So again, we're here to give you an update. Thought we'd just start with a few photographs. I'm sure everyone on the committee is familiar with the location. Maybe members or others who are viewing live stream might need some orientation. This is an aerial view, of course, showing Block D1 in red of the Stonefield Neighborhood Model District, located along Hydraulic Road, just off of Route 29. Immediately adjacent is the Stonefield Shopping Center. These are just a few photographs showing context, showing views looking back towards the site. Here's looking from Route 29. This is as you're on Hydraulic looking west. You can see the towns in the distance. In the foreground, you can see a little bit of the theater. Here's from Hydraulic eastbound. And then this is after you've come into the development, looking back towards what will be the front of the building. To the left will be the shops. To the right, the towns at Stonefield. These are, I'm just showing you context photos. These in particular are showing various building scales and materials that we took into consideration as the building was designed and then taken through county entitlement processes. And this is all leading up to the actual 3D views that were approved by the ARB. Next slide is, this is just a reminder of the approved existing development plan in 2013 for the mixed-use neighborhood model district before the actual design for Block D1 commenced. And then the next plan is really focusing in on that. Actually, before we get to that, zooming back on an aerial view, just showing the project data as it has developed and has been approved. We have now a total of 227 apartment units. We have among those studios, 1, 2, 3 bedroom apartments, and a total of 347 parking spaces. And here is the site plan as it's been approved. Again, you can see Bond Street with Hyatt to the right is where the front of the building is located. We'll see a view of that in the future. Hydraulic along the entrance corridor, District Avenue taking you into the shops at Stonefield and other components of the development. Of course, the towns at Stonefield are along Inglewood Drive, and the new Christopher companies, I think it's Central 29 apartment units up to the upper right. This is the same site plan, but that red arrow is telling you where we're going to see our first view of the building as approved. So here you can see the main entrance, the drop-off area with the canopy leading into the amenities area for the residents in the leasing office. At this corner area will be the retail, about 2,000 square feet. And then on the upper levels, we have the apartment units. Again, to the left is the shopping, to the right is the towns, in the foreground is the Hyatt. Looking from Hydraulic Road at the corner there at District, this is our view here. You'll notice the materials which have been approved by ARB, take on the brick that we know and love, but also introduce other colors, a lot of them which are really tying back to the shops at Stonefield, so that we have this integrated neighborhood that sets the tone for what people are about to experience beyond. And then from Hydraulic on the other side, we have this view. To the left, out of views are the towns, but this is what you would see along Hydraulic Road. You've got two wings pointed towards Hydraulic. In the middle is a courtyard area, an outdoor courtyard area, which is actually below street level. So it's actually not immediately seen by car or even by pedestrian, but that is an outdoor area for the residents.
Boy, it really doesn't look like that now. If you drive by it, it looks like this big concrete slab.
Okay, yeah, great. And we'd love to actually, this is, let me back up here. This is a great way. This might be the best slide to understand that. Let me go to the plan just for a minute. Here again is the plan. We were just looking from this vantage point. What you see right now is this parking structure that is going to be surrounded, really completely enclosed by the apartments. And that was one of the very first sort of guiding principles of this design, is that this is going to be concealed parking, which was an important idea in developing this building, so that the residents, pedestrians walking by would be always in touch with sort of the human element of the human scale of the building, and not having to walk past a lot of parking structure. So really, when you're walking along Inglewood, you'll be seeing this. You'll be seeing the apartments, and only once you get to the entrance of the garage will you see that opening into the structure. But that really should be the only visible part of the parking.
Well, thank you. That's fascinating, because it really, I've had a couple people ask me, do you know what the hell that is they're building there?
No, good question. But that obviously has to go in first before it gets surrounded.
No, it makes sense.
So,
but I don't think it's intuitive to most people.
Yeah, and yeah, it is going to be much more pedestrian friendly.
That's great.
In describing this building, you can communicate that it's almost like a double donut with two holes, one of which is going to be the concealed parking. The other one is going to be an outdoor courtyard, open air courtyard.
Cool.
I didn't mention, besides this main area here, there will be, and this vehicular entrance, there will be a secondary pedestrian entrance for visitors into the building coming off of the shops at Stonefield. So this has really been designed with the idea of being part of a walkable, bikeable community.
And am I correct in remembering that it's going to be, parking would be open to shoppers at Stonefield?
That's actually up to the management at this point, but
I
it
just,
really
I
is,
remembered them saying they would do that.
it really is mostly for the tenants. There is some retail, as mentioned, there's 2,000 square feet of retail. There might be some for that, but it's really mainly for the tenants.
Will the parking garage go up to the same height as the highest apartments? And I'm trying to figure out exactly how that integrates with the living area. Are there going to be some apartments that have a parking garage on the other side of their wall?
So, this is the street level right here. As you go up, of course, this bar will become a single loaded corridor, the corridor bordering the edge of the parking structure as you go all the way around. And so one of the potential conveniences is that you could circle inside of the parking structure closer to where you live, and then come out of your car and then be closer to where your apartment is located. So yeah, the parking structure is multi-story along with the apartments. It is a little bit lower than one level. It is lower than the actual apartment units themselves, though.
So,
Inside.
Alan, my question is, I know you're saying this is a concealed parking lot,
Yes.
but does that mean it's covered, or is there open parking on the top?
On the top, that's correct. That it is open air, but that is not something that any pedestrian would be able to see.
Thank you.
Sure.
There any facilities for bike parking?
Glad you asked. Being part of that walkable, bikeable community, we definitely made a pretty generous enclosed bike area, which would be accessed by the tenants. It would be lockable so that they could safely store their bikes there. It's actually right off of this secondary pedestrian entrance, so they could, it's located in this area, so they could easily take their bikes, walk them up this this path here, and then get onto the street and go. So it's definitely meant to be convenient enough for regular use.
Will it have charging, like power access?
It will. We've provided that. We're counting on electric bike parking and they do tend to be a little bit wider. So we've accounted for those spaces and provided receptacles for them.
Top 1% of people are burning 2.5 pounds of fat each night.
And are those pools in the courtyard?
There are, yes. We have a sort of recreational depth to sort of wading depth, and then actually a spa at the top here.
I think someone is unmuted and there's background. Thank you.
Alan, do you have a second or third floor plan?
I'm sorry, I do not. Is that Vito Chetta?
Yeah.
Speaking? Yeah, we don't. What would you like to know? I mean, it does change, of course. These two wings remain residential all the way up.
Yeah.
And then, of course, this fills in with more apartments.
Yeah. So you have a corridor that goes around the parking.
That's true. It's a single loaded corridor around the parking. And then once you get into these wings, they are double loaded.
So these are apartments on the right side, on the second floor and up, right?
That's correct. That's right. And let's see if we can just, yeah. So as you go up, these become all apartments. And then
Yeah.
behind them is the parking structure.
It's a nice solution. Wow, very nice.
Alan, this is Diane McKeel, the supervisor for this district. And
Yes.
I really appreciate you coming tonight because I'd had enough people that had asked me.
Oh, yes.
The membership of the CAC saw this a couple of, I don't know, what was it, a couple of years ago when it was just rolling out.
Right.
And people were curious enough about what they were seeing and what they'd remembered, right? That I thought it would be great to have you back tonight to go over this project because it is unique for us. I'm not sure we have a parking structure like this in Albemarle County right now.
Right. I'm not sure you do, but this is, yeah. Rest assured, and please feel free to email me with any questions in the future. But rest assured, it will look much more friendly when it's done.
What are the current timelines?
Okay, so we really do need to leave that in the hands of the GC. I think I'll tell you just the very short, in the short term, the precast parking garage itself will be finished with the erection in April, by April. The rest of the building, I would need to get back to you really on that. I wouldn't want to set expectations at this point.
Is there a mix of rental and ownership, or what's the mix, Alan, for this?
It is all rented apartments.
Okay.
And I may have said it really quickly too, but it goes from studios, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom.
What's the
most
cost?
of which are going to be the 1 bedrooms and the 2 bedrooms.
And how much is a 1 bedroom?
That has not been decided by management, but it's certainly going to be commensurate with the location and what's being offered around it. So, but it's not been set yet.
Well, it certainly is great to see that mix because we have a real need for all of those from studio all the way up to 3 bedrooms. So that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Alan, what kind of construction?
It is 2A construction. So it is going to be on a podium, but then it's, well, first of all, let me back up. What you're seeing right now is precast concrete for the parking structure.
Right.
And then it is 2A construction for the rest of the residential portion of the building.
That's steel?
So it's light gauge metal framing that you'll see.
Is all of the retail along the front at ground level, or does any of it go up, say, to a second floor?
The retail is, if you can see my cursor, it's really right here in the corner. The rest of this bar right here, and that is at ground. Let's see if we can. So that's this retail, which actually stretches back. And with more storefront. The rest of this side will feel public. It's the amenity spaces with a very tall ceilings here. So there'll be activity on this ground level that will sort of activate this pedestrian experience as you're going by. There is a leasing office here, so there's sort of eyes on the street. again, some definitely daytime activity that's creating some action here. But no, there's not any retail plan for the upper levels.
Alan, as for the parking for the tenants and I guess you said it would be also shoppers could park there as well. Is that controlled parking?
It definitely is.
Okay.
And so there'll be a sort of a tenant's gate here that will screen people coming in and out. But it's also important to note that this parking lot is, there's some parking for retail, but really it's pretty limited. So it's mainly for the residents coming in here.
So if somebody lives on the top floor, they would drive up 7 floors and park there.
It wouldn't be 7 floors. And again, it's more of a management question, how they're going to distribute the spaces. But it is conceivable that they would be winding up to, level story 5, say, and parking closer to their unit. So they may be a story up or down from their unit. They may be at the same level. We're not privy to the way management's going to handle it. But that is the idea, is that you rise with your apartment unit.
So I guess one of my question, again, this is Diantha, Alan, and I understand management makes most of the decisions, but if you're renting one of these apartments, then it comes with, do you know, it comes with a space or
it does
two
come,
spaces depending on the size of the unit?
That's right. And the way we understand it, it'll come with 1 or 2 based on the size of your unit.
It's really an interesting concept. I think it's pretty exciting.
It is, yeah.
Right. Are you looking for an apartment?
So Alan, this is Yolanda Speed. I had another question. Can you just repeat the number of floors for the actual living rate for the living? And also, is storage livable or is it strictly housing?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of your question.
How many levels, how many floors on the side facing hydraulic?
On the side facing hydraulic. So there are 6 floors.
Mm-hmm.
And what were you saying? What was the other part?
Is there space available for the tenants to rent, like storage space, or is just strictly for living?
Yes, actually, we do have, I don't know how management is going to work those extra storage spaces, but we do have additional storage that could be available to the tenants.
Okay, thank you.
Alan, if I were a pedestrian and I wanted to visit somebody whose apartment faces hydraulic on the 6th floor, how do I get there?
Great, and where are you coming from? You're
right there from the front.
Okay, yeah. So
yeah.
What we understand is that you would come in through the front door, and leasing is positioned so that staff would see you. And then presumably again, this is actually still being worked out in terms of security. But either the person that you're visiting would come and meet you, or you would gain access to this elevator lobby, and you would go up to your your floor, and then you would come down the corridor
Right.
to your
Okay,
hosts.
well done.
So
Thank
I'm
you.
assuming, Alan, there's an on-site management office and,
There is, and it's, again, it's right in this strategic knuckle that's able to see what's going on at the street, what's going on at the elevator lobby, at the secondary entrance from the parking structure, and these amenities beyond. So it's, it should be tightly run as right.
So someone will be at that leasing area like 24/7, is that the idea?
That I can't speak to. I can't speak to that. Unfortunately, ownership would be able to do a better job, or the management company. But this is their designated space.
Alan, is there any on-street parking on Inglewood or District for people wanting to shop retail?
So we are not taking away any of this parallel parking right here. And this area is really more kind of for service vehicles. And then there is, some temporary parking along this drop-off area. So, you could be parked at this curb temporarily, and other cars could bypass along here to drop off if necessary, or just to reorient. But really, the parking is internal.
so just thinking about the parking, again, this is Diantha. So
Yes.
the Hyatt has a pretty good sized parking lot behind it.
Right.
I'm just trying to think about the Stonefield parking, because it does seem to be, but I guess they have that interior parking near the theater.
I'm
And
sorry, I
then-
didn't hear you.
And they have the inside, the Stonefield itself has that
Yes.
inside parking area that I think of as sort of behind the theater.
Correct, yes.
And then the outside parking area that's off from the grassy field area.
Yes.
But yeah.
It's going to
I
be a
know that this has
hotel.
been very carefully reviewed throughout the site plan review process. So they were really careful about understanding the parking sort of in totality for the entire development, not just for Stonefield, but all the parking that would be necessary for the development, and then Stonefield carrying its sort of rightful load in coming to the total parking that we needed to accommodate.
Yeah, I can't speak for the specific numbers, but I do know that the zoning office, Bill previously mentioned the zoning clearance process, and in the site plan review process, they track total available parking and total available space within Stonefield to determine that there is a balance that meets the minimum parking requirements that zoning permits. So it's being pretty carefully tracked. I can say that.
And I'm just curious, and maybe this is more for David rather than Alan, I'm not sure. Again, this is Diantha. What would you all anticipate the folks that are renting these units, would you assume many of them would not have children, some of them would have children? I'm just curious about the. Right.
Hard for me to speculate on that.
Yeah.
As you all are probably familiar, our household sizes are reducing as a rule of thumb right now. So I think it really kind of depends more on the marketing of the sites and the apartments for this particular site.
Yeah, I was just curious, David. Probably is hard to anticipate. And you're certainly right, because I just read the other day in the paper that for the first time ever, we have more deaths in the United States than we have births.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a complicated
It's a
question.
problem. It's a problem.
In-migration affects that as well. So, there's a lot of factors that do that. But as a general rule, we're seeing smaller household sizes.
Yeah, yeah.
I frankly am very surprised at the number of apartment buildings that are built. And within 200 yards of this building, there's at least 2 big projects. And I know nothing about that market. It's surprising how popular and successful they must be, because they wouldn't be building them.
That's right. We certainly have a need from what I'm hearing from staff, Vito. This is Diantha. We have a real need. They're really sought after. Yes.
Yeah, at both ends of the population range, as our population gets older too, and empty nesters, and this is becoming a retirement community. So we're seeing that kind of demand for apartments and affordability factors, whether these are truly affordable or not, relative to what's out there in certain size buildings and residential opportunities. It's certainly a need.
Well, depending on how depending on how you all handle the parking, it would seem like to me that this would be a great place, or very advantageous for someone who might be handicapped or disabled. If you can drive and get closer to your apartment, perhaps.
Right. And even if you're not able to, we certainly have handicap parking at each story. That's close to the elevator lobby for that story. So even then, it's a consideration that we definitely thought about.
Yeah.
I do think it brings up this apartment building, all those townhouses, the other apartment building, again, a lot more people, and still the intersection at Hydraulic and 29 is impossible to cross unless you're in a car. So it adds more weight to trying to kick that forward and get attention on what the future planning is. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I know what you mean, John. I thought the same thing when I was looking the other day at this smart scale, list, and trying to get everybody involved in that. And the hydraulic stuff is not there because didn't it pass already? But there wasn't funded.
No, we have a pedestrian bridge, a bike and pedestrian bridge that has been funded, that will connect from the Stonefield side to the Kmart side. That's done, passed, funded. It just hasn't, they're just not building it yet.
But I was talking about the roads, the traffic.
Oh, right. Well, the part of that, all of that, those smart scale projects include other projects besides the pedestrian bridge that will improve the traffic. They just haven't started building them yet. But they've all been approved. Well, I won't say they all, but much of it has been approved and funded. There will be we're still trying to get approval and funding for the roundabout at District Avenue, which is going to be submitted in the next smart scale application. And so we're working on all of that. But I think for the pedestrians and the bicyclists, that pedestrian bridge that will also provide transit access will be wonderful, because it'll have they're providing a a transit stop on the Kmart side, so that people will be able to ride transit and then get off and cross on the bridge either way. So that will be helpful. But you're right, that intersection still needs work.
Well, thanks for this update. Now we know what to expect, and I think it's really attractive. So I'm excited. It's going to be a nice addition to the area. Thank you.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for inviting us to present.
And hopefully it'll provide some housing for folks that we need, that need housing. Yes, it's great. Thank you, Alan. I really appreciate you coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. That was a great presentation, a lot of information about the new apartments at Stonefield. Okay, alrighty. We are at liaison updates. We have Diantha and Julian.
Yes,
Look, we
Julian,
don't have to run through it. We got some time.
and I guess, Julian, you want me to start off this time? I just want to make a couple of comments for everybody. Our support person, Michaela, has left the county. She found her dream job at University of Virginia, and she's going to be working with communication at UVA, which she couldn't refuse. I understand that it was something she'd been wanting to do for a long time. So unfortunately, Michaela, we've lost Michaela, who really did an outstanding job for us. And maybe we'll still see her as we're around the community over the next period of time. Carolyn Schaefer, whom we're also lucky to have, is still with us. Carolyn is still here.
Yay.
Yay. And of course, I would assume that at some point we will be assigned another staff person to support Carolyn's work as well. And Bill and David, I really did appreciate you coming tonight. That was great. Thank you for being here to support the staff as well. So my update, I guess, let me just jump right in and say that budget season is starting. You all probably are aware of that. So Jeff Richardson, our county executive, will be presenting his proposed funding request on Wednesday of this week. His proposal, it will be by Zoom at noon. So anybody that has a lunch break and wants to watch can do so. And then his presentation will be followed by a series of budget work sessions that again are all public meetings. At least we're going to get started with them by Zoom. And you can go onto the county website and find the link for them. And maybe I'll get, maybe we'll have someone send out some information on that to all of you all, just so it's easy for you to find. You also know that the county right now is working on magisterial redistricting based on the census that rolled out, that our magisterial districts need to change size. Some of the magisterial districts have grown and need to shrink. Others need to be adjusted because of that. As you might imagine, just watching Crozet in Whitehall, the Whitehall magisterial district has grown. Rio has grown some. And Jewett pretty much stayed the same, but we'll probably need to grow or shrink depending on the other districts around us and how the numbers might fall out. But you can go on to there are 3 options that are being considered right now. And you can go on again to the county website. It says very clearly when you go on the county website, redistricting. And if you click on that, it takes you to the information. We're seeking public comment on the 3 options right now. So we'd love to hear from you. And at the point at which we get closer and a decision is made, I'll get somebody to come and talk to us about what the changes actually mean for this, for our CAC. We are also planning on our comprehensive plan update, and we're seeking volunteers to help with that work. And for the first time ever, we are offering some payment at $15 an hour for volunteers. And again, and there's a February the 28th deadline to volunteer. And again, if you go to the county website, there's a lot of good information about that process and how to apply to volunteer. And just a couple of more things, and then Julian, I'll turn it over to you. I had a lot I wanted to talk about tonight, but we are at the point now where the consultants that have been doing the work for us around
what should our Albemarle County transit look like? How do we get to better transit within Albemarle County? The consultants have made some recommendations and there's some proposals. And they will be presenting those transit recommendations this Thursday, it's this Thursday, the 24th at 6 o'clock to the community. And I will say they are fascinating. A mix of fixed route, which is the CAT type of transit, as well as the micro transit, which is what you think about as kind of an on-demand. And what the three focus areas were 29 North from the city line all the way through Albemarle County up 29 North, as well as the Pantops area. They also looked at Monticello Visitor Center, the Monticello as a visitors tourism designation, but most of the proposals right now are for the 29 North area, of which we are a part of, and Pantops. So I would urge you, if you're interested in this, to join that presentation Thursday at 6 o'clock. And then my last update is that Albemarle County Public Schools has a committee of educators and folks from the community, to include Cynthia Neff and Julian and myself, working with consultants around our Lambs Lane campus. How to make Albemarle High School, Jewett, Greer, Ivy Creek, that whole campus more educationally focused and not just a big acres of property where facilities are just randomly placed. As you know, the Boys and Girls Club is building right now on that campus. That will be open for the next school year. And so this work is incorporating the Boys and Girls Club, as well as just how to make their access better, how to focus on education as opposed to a bus depot, buses, car wash, all of that. So that's pretty exciting work. And I will be asking for this committee to have a report out on that as well. There's really not, it's just begun, and there's not enough work really for an update. It'll take a few months probably before we'll be able to come back to you with anything solid on that work. But you can certainly follow it, and the meetings are open to the public as far as I know. And with that, I think I'll stop. I am going to ask those staff at some point, maybe Carolyn, if you can help me remember, if we could send out some of these links for the community members, it might be helpful so that they don't have to try and find all of these links by themselves. And does anybody have any questions? Yeah, Bill.
Yeah, this is my pet peeve, so I have to ask you if you know anything about it. All that infrastructure work that was done up around Georgetown have left the roads, and to me, in a pretty sad state. I'm talking about the right side of Barracks Road as you go up toward Georgetown.
Yeah.
Then you right on Georgetown down to Inglewood, and it's like a country road now. I'm just wondering if they're going to I avoid it now. I take the long way around 29. Just the wear and tear on the car on a daily basis would not be a good thing. So I'm just wondering if they're going to repave it anytime soon.
And I can report out on that. And I should have thought to have talked to you all about that. So that all of that project, the Barracks Road and Georgetown Road has all been an Albemarle County Service Authority project. They're replacing 50-year-old water pipes in the neighborhoods along Georgetown and off of Barracks Road. So it's not a VDOT project, it's a Albemarle County Service Authority project. And I can assure you that Gary O'Connell, who is the director of Albemarle County Service Authority, is very aware of the problems that contractor has presented. The job has been terrible. Gary's been trying to deal with it, and we all apologize. At the end of the day, though, they're still working on the water pipe replacements. So they're not through. You just don't see them right now, but they're in areas working. When all of that work is completed, and it'll be this spring, but I can't give you a month, I'm not sure. Then both of those roads, Barracks Road and Georgetown Road, will be repaved. Matter of fact, VDOT wanted to repave Georgetown and Barracks about 12 to 18 months ago, but they waited for this project to be completed because the last thing in the world we wanted anybody to do was to go in and completely repave both of those roads and then have the service authority come in and dig them all up. That would have been a disaster. So VDOT is just as anxious as we are to be able to get in and repave those roads, Bill. But it has been, we had actually one Friday night about 7 or 8 vehicles that had damage to their cars.
Yeah, it was
from
bad.
the potholes. The contractor, I will say what I know about it is, and I'm not going to say much more about it, but I know that the contractor that was awarded the project, because they're very prescribed, rules that you have to follow. They are from New Jersey. And we've had some struggles with them with this project. There's no doubt about it. They did not patch the holes in anticipation of the amount of traffic on those 2 roads. There have been some major problems, but anyway, at the end of the day, it will be repaved, and we hope that we end up with a much better, but the folks that live along there had to have their water pipes replaced too. So it's, anyway, any other questions?
So Diantha, yeah, Chris Rimbold had his hand.
Yeah, Chris. You're muted, Chris. I can't hear you, honey.
Just a comment about the water pipes. We live right at the intersection of 3 of them on Barracks Road. They work from about 8 p.m. until about 3 in the morning. And so we have floodlights and dropping pipes all night, including keeping us up at night. But it's actually good they didn't repave Barracks Road because they actually cut our sewer line.
Right.
And so, we had to basically have them come in and in the middle of the night, dig a trench most of the way across Barracks Road to repair our sewer line that they had cut. So they're waiting to get everything fixed and make sure everything working before they pave it.
Right.
They did pave Bennington Road, and they're paving the roads that they're totally done with now. So it is going to happen.
Well, that's exactly right. And it is good that they're working together so that we're not putting down brand new pavement and then digging it up again. That's a good thing. And Chris, you're right. They cut your sewer line. They also cut a major line at the intersection one day and shut down the Georgetown Barracks Road intersection. So there have been some problems. Gary worked really hard with me to get the Hessian Hills neighborhood repaved before bad weather came and the snow plows came in, because that would have been a disaster for the neighbors. It would have just been awful. So we were really rushing to try and get at least the interior neighborhoods that had been completed paved before bad weather.
Huge, it made a huge difference. Thank you, Danta.
I would just say this, that Jeremy Lynn at the Service Authority has been very responsive in getting things fixed.
Right. Right. And I will say that the first time ever, this was really the service, Gary Connell and Jeremy through the Service Authority, this is the first time ever that they actually went in and tried to get everyone who was touched by this project an email for them, and they're sending out emails on a weekly basis to everybody that's on that email server list, so that people know when they're going to be working in their road, on their road, in their neighborhood. And that has been wonderful. But it was quite a task to try and get everybody's emails, as you might imagine. So if there's anybody that lives in that area and would like to be on that list to know, you could contact me or Gary O'Connell, and we'll put you on the list. But it has been a challenging project. Any other comments or questions? Okay, Julian, it's all yours.
Thank you.
So I will just sort of add one piece back into the traffic on the 29 hydraulic side, that I think everyone's aware that we were successful in getting what will be an under over. I don't know what an under over, much like that's at Rio and 29. So that will also speed. So people, not speed. So people will be able to drive through there without having to stop like they do up in Rio. Diane, what's wrong?
Okay, yeah,
That was funded.
okay.
Yeah. And so that's helpful for that intersection. That intersection.
It is very helpful, yes.
The intersection, because some people were asking, how do you get across? So that will help keep the traffic flowing there. On two of the things that I think might be interesting to know for this area, while it's not directly connected here, is that what we've been seeing at the Planning Commission is some of the, not Dominion, but Central Virginia Electric Cooperative has come and done upgrades to their infrastructure. And so how does that help us? What I think what I've seen is by them addressing some of their outlying installation, that allows them to focus their time to things to other parts of our county. So they're doing some of the outside, and that allows them not to have to worry about that, which I think we have benefit from. Now, many of us in the tied in area are Dominion, but there's also part of our district that also is that is not a Dominion customer. So we're seeing some of that. The other thing that we're seeing at the Planning Commission is that there's been what I will say is an unlocking of some developments that are coming forward. Recently, we saw, if those individuals who go to Crozet and go perhaps at the Three Notch Road, if you may recall, there's a veterinary office over there called Old Dominion. That whole area over there has come before the Planning Commission, will then be going to the supervisors to look about putting a community there. That's across the street from another community that will be coming to us in that area. Also trying to figure out how to put a collection, an eclectic and different types of housing, from townhouses to single houses to stacked housing in that area to offer as Crozet as a development area, an intentional development area, to offer some different kind of housing over there. So we're beginning to see those kinds of projects come through the Planning Commission, will then of course go to the supervisors. All of that's to say is that I think what we're seeing is that people are making decisions about investing in projects, which felt like there had been a bit of a pause or somewhat of a pause in some of those kinds of projects for the last 2 years. Different kinds of things were happening in the last years, but we're starting to see some residential projects come back onto the board. The other thing that for those of us who may be interested in, that there's been sort of a cleaning up and a sort of some additional clarification to the homestead ordinance, which has come from us and will go to the supervisors, and nothing dramatic, just basically doing some language and making it clear that what we can do in our, for instance, in our area, in the Jack Jewett area, that it's consistent across that, and then some of these smaller parcel rural area, smaller parceled homestays in the rural part of our community. And so that I think that's just some clarity and helpful there. And then many of you heard about the Boys and Girls Club, and so the community center what came before us and is going to the supervisors, I think soon, is to have them the permission not only to do this, to do the after school and before school program and the summer program, but also to have space, use some of their space there as community centers. So the whole idea that the Lambs Lane campus would be a place where a whole host of student-related and community-related activities could go, in addition to the sidewalks, which are also been funded, we've heard recently have been funded there. So that, one other thing, we saw an interesting hotel at Pantops, in addition to another interesting hotel that I expect to see at Pantops. And all of that, I mean, people have said to me, why do we need all these hotels? Well, there's an interesting piece here that I will just share. I would prefer to have that the overnight accommodations tax reside in Albemarle County, and we have lots of, we have numerous hotel rooms in the city of Charlottesville, but it would really be nice to have accommodations in the county that actually those revenues would come to us as opposed to not coming to us. So I'm thankful for that. And it seems also the hotels are going to places that make, as far as the planning commissioner sense, they're connected to the Centera property up there. They're connected to the shopping center. I don't remember the name. I always want to say the Giant Shopping Center, but it's not what it's called. It's actually got a name to it. But the Giant Shopping Center, which is up there. So I think what we're seeing is that those areas are sort of starting to build out with a suite of accessory services there that I think is very helpful for us as a county, and as far as providing options and also providing revenue for us, providing revenue for the county. And that's all I have. But I can answer questions. Oh, and also we're beginning the review of the comp plan, which is an exciting time. And so I would just sort of add to what Commissioner McKeel said, what our good Commissioner Diantha said. If that's something that you have an interest in, this is a time for you to perhaps to think about becoming more intimately involved in that process. Yes, there'll be opportunities for public interaction and for people to sort of see what's going on. But if you'd really like to have an opportunity to sort of roll a sleeve up and sort of step into that whole sort of creative process for the next I think year, that process will go. Please think seriously about that, because we could use a diverse and eclectic set of voices during this process. And that's for me, Chair.
And I will just add that we'd hope to have Kate Acuff here from to give a presentation, and Kate had a conflict tonight and couldn't join us. Kate has asked one of the Albemarle County Public Schools staff folks. So at our March meeting, they will be presenting about schools and some of the discussions that we hear right now about schools and how schools are planning to go forward. And so that will be happening in March. And I just want to make a comment that to go back to the hydraulic intersection, what we funded was actually the roundabout. If you think about the roundabout down at
Whole Foods.
Hillsdale.
Yeah, Hillsdale and Whole Foods. That's what's going to really make some difference. There's a roundabout at District Avenue that's in the future, we hope, but has not been funded. The roundabout at Whole Foods was part of the funding from Smart Scale. So that's what I think Julian was referencing a little bit with the change, so that you'll have that roundabout at Whole Foods, and then the pedestrian bridge, which will make a huge difference for access to both sides for bikers and pedestrians. So there's going to be there's a lot of construction that's going to be happening. David, I don't know if you want to speak to that at all or not, but we have a lot of construction that's going to be happening in Albemarle County and even in our district coming up soon.
Yeah, we have a number of projects that have been approved, and the 29 North improvements. I've sort of stepped away from transportation, so I'm not the best source any longer, but the 29 hydraulic improvements are sort of phased because they're so expensive. The focus is on some of the side streets and crossings, and then ultimately the cut and cover will be funded in the future of 29 itself. But these parallel projects are the shorter term, more affordable way to kind of implement that overall plan. That's my understanding.
We did talk about that over under right there at hydraulic, but what happened was we were competing with about what was it, a $3 billion bridge. I mean, tunnel. A new tunnel. So it wasn't. We didn't get that funded. So what happened was we went back and broke the projects up into smaller chunks trying to get them funded, and we were able to get them funded in a different way. So
there is a good program and a game plan to work towards getting the whole thing funded.
Yeah, that's right. But it's expensive. John, you have a question.
I did. I know that the Hillsdale Circle and the pedestrian bridge have been funded. Is there a general, rough timeline that's been established for both of those projects, and will they be happening same time, different time? Is that been established yet?
I don't know off the top of my head unless you know, Diantha, but I can get that for you because Smart Scale will do it once it's funded, gives you a projected time for
Yeah, and
implementation.
it's always what, David, it always seems like to me, it's like 3 or 4 years out.
You-
Something
you-
like
Yes, as a general rule, what gets funded is the 6th year of a 6-year plan for funding. So even that's short term for transportation, but it will usually, it won't get built until sometime after the 6th year, but that's not always the case. So I just need to check, and I can send you that information or be ready to whoever attends your meeting next month to give you that update.
And when did the clock start for when they were funded? This year?
they were just approved, David, I thought was it 20 or 21?
Yeah, let's see, it would be 20, I think. The projects, Smart Scale applications run every other year. So the last round would have been 20 since we're going into
5 years or
22.
so, roughly, rough numbers.
Yeah, but I can certainly get an update for what VDOT has projected. There's actually a site where you can go look at all the projects and it gives you all those dates, but I'll try to get that and have some updates.
Well, and you know what, David, we're going to have a presentation to the committee, the CAC committee about Smart Scale. What I will do is we can actually do a review of where we are and cover some points like that, and then talk about the upcoming Smart Scale that we're actually asking for. That would be a great agenda item.
Because it's pretty impressive. There's a lot of projects.
Yeah.
in the offing.
Is there a design yet for that pedestrian bridge that we could look at and comment on, or is that too early?
You know, they start the design. Oh, I shouldn't have jumped in, David. I'm sorry, but my understanding,
just go ahead.
They start the design after they know it's funded.
Yeah, what will happen is for smart scale projects to be competitive, you have to have a reasonable cost estimate. So they do some order of magnitude of assessment of the project, but the true design work doesn't occur until it actually gets funded. So there will be a design public hearing type process that's required for all projects like this. So at some point in time, there'll be public input opportunities.
And again, I'll see if I can get us a presentation from the powers that be, whoever they might be, when we get that, because that's going to be a really important access bridge for us in our district. It'd be fun to have a presentation about that when we are able to get it. Any other? I don't see any more questions.
I don't see any more hands either.
The other thing that
This has been a very in-depth meeting. Go ahead.
I was going to say, the other thing that I have asked staff to give a presentation to our group about is you keep hearing us discuss at the Board of Supervisors and Planning Commission level about middle density housing. And so they're going to be giving us a presentation about middle density. What does it mean? What is it? How does it, in the scheme of things? So that's another agenda item that'll be coming up. We have a lot of agenda items. David.
Yeah, and this was mentioned before by Ms. Neff or McKeel, but I also just did want to remind you about the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission virtual workshop on the smart scale projects, which is this Thursday, the 28th. And I think you received an email from Rachel Falkenstein that has a link that you need to register for that meeting. So just wanted to just say that again, make sure everyone has that on their radar.
There's a lot going on Thursday. I was trying to get him to the transit meeting, David.
Well, divide and conquer, maybe.
Anyway, it's all good.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Do we have any more? Go ahead, Cynthia. You had questions?
No, I'm ready to go.
I know that's right. Okay, well, we had a great meeting. Thank you so much, David and Carolyn. We really are appreciative. So we're gonna call for closing to adjourn this meeting, but I do want to share that opportunities for the public to access and participate in the electronic meeting will be posted at a later date in accordance with emergency ordinance number 20-A16 and open meeting requirements of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. Our next meeting will be March 21st, 2022. Thank you all so very much and have a great evening.
Good night, folks.